supposed to be doing a little bit about Carthage, to be honest. Otherwise, we're just going to be there.
Always.
Pat's joining us as well, which really does my head because I don't know where I am now. Right, so Andy, I'm just going to give you the Rupertont and your happening.
Yep, Margaret's just having problems connecting up because it's reverting to an old email address for some reason. She can't sort it out.
Oh yeah,
she's trying. She said she will be joining as soon as she can.
Right. Okay. Right. So we're gonna start off with finding out if anyone's got any news this week. Let's talk to the terrible two, Richard D and Emma S.
Yeah, nothing from me, Carl.
Oh, anything from you, Davy Babe? Richard Babes?
No, thank you. I'm David S.
Right, so we're going to need to do something about this, okay? Fair enough. The David Arnside.
No, you.
Okay. I'm going to mention that Emma and David S will be visiting Cumbria next month, and they are going to be perusing and padabbering the library in which way they can. And I thought maybe you could all meet up down the old Albion, and don't tell Claire because you'll never leave. You tell Claire, invite her along. But I thought I'd mention that. Right, Drina, anything from you, babes?
Not this week. No.
Right, okay. I still get my head together because there's been a few things happening this week, so I've just got to try and. Roger.
No.
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 Right. Okay. What about the wonderful, inimitable Judith? Judith, you've got to say something. You've got to come up with something now.
No, did I send you that link to that? Because it wasn't the original thing that he put together. It made a reconstruction of the original thing, and it was a chariot.
Right.
And I can't remember where it was.
Yeah. No,
I sent you the
link. The link. Yeah, I got the link, but I think we did have a nice bit of a cover of it last week anyway, okay. So that was fine. That was fine.
Okay.
Right, Drina.
You've done me, but it occurs to me I sent you a photograph. I don't know whether you got it or not. Of
what was the photograph?
Pompeii.
When did you send that?
Excavated.
When?
I don't know. A while back. A couple of weeks. Send it again.
Yeah, I want you to send it again because I would be orgasmic looking at a new image of Pompeii, and we could use it.
Maybe
so
not
send it
then,
again.
No.
Okay.
I'll have a look. See if there's one in here.
What? Oh God, this is too much happening in a minute.
I know.
Right. Okay. Who haven't we done yet? We done Roger? Yeah.
Andy, you haven't done.
Yeah, you haven't done me. I haven't got anything.
Oh, don't forget about Andy. Yeah, don't worry about it.
You haven't done Pat either.
Pat, give us some news now.
Okay, well, I watched a little bit.
I told you.
I watched a bit of Egyptian news, and they've explored, but they're still looking at stuff, and they're still finding things, and they're taking teeth now and of these different mummies, and they can tell what year, by their tooth and where they were from and what they ate. I guess I know. Anyhow, but they did find they weren't pharaohs; they were just all in a row, and there were all these tombs, and they were all like men aged 28 to 25 something, and it was the first whatever they call it, dynasty, I don't know,
dynasty. Yeah, I'll do.
It was the first one, and they said there's no evidence of this anywhere else, but they think that these 20 or so graves, because they're all laid out nicely, and they had grave stuff with them, and they weren't pharaohs. They were what they believe is that they got convinced that they could live ever after with the pharaoh. So you just die, however they put them to death, and then you wake up in the ever after to They were servants, I guess, but they were.
To serve the pharaoh forever. What a wonderful thing! You serve in the pharaoh, then you die and you serve him again. Oh, what a life!
I couldn't believe it. But they said they didn't have much or any evidence later on. You know, it dropped out.
It might have been a good life.
Exactly.
Mm.
Just like wearing wellies in a garden for the series Good Life in the 1970s. Yeah, see what I mean?
Carl, I've just remembered I have got news. This
Ooh.
weekend, no, it's yeah. I went on a class to do knoll binding, which
What
is
binding?
Knoll, Narl binding, one word.
Oh.
What the hell's that?
It's a Scandinavian form of making fabric
Oh,
with a
right.
needle and wool. And apparently, I said I've seen an Egyptian sock that came out of a tomb, a picture. And she said, yeah, that's knoll binding too.
Ooh.
Knitted. Because it looks like knitting if you do a certain way.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting. Something to practice. It wasn't very good that I did, but yeah.
That sounds interesting.
It
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, it sounds very interesting because Drina, this is a bit of an announcement. Have you finished your thing?
Yes.
Right. Yeah, this is a bit of an announcement. I'm going to try and get an Iron Age / Roman era costume together, right? And I'm going to wander around this in the woods and stuff, right? And not that there's a reason for this, right? There's a reason for this. I'm really serious, right? There's a reason for this. There's this guy on the internet, right? And he's from Sweden, and he was. I put this on a couple of the Facebook pages, and he was actually saying, right, that if you I used to be a living reenactor, but for a completely different period in time. And basically, he wanders around with his shoes on, right, which are actual sort of as accurate Viking shoes as possible, right? And he says that when you start wearing these boots, you realize that you can't run in them, you can't take risks, you need a pole to wander around in. And it started to get me thinking. It started to get me thinking. Well, actually, right? We think we watch these Hollywood movies and people are bouncing up and around trees. Robin Hood. Gladiator. All these films, right? And you start to realize that if people took these risks, as we see them in the films all the time, right? When people broke their legs or when people had accidents, there's a likelihood that they would die. Because there aren't any antibiotics that we know of that are as powerful today as there was then. Maybe there was, there are antibiotics in the past. But what I'm saying is that if you start to live history, then it's more likely that you'll understand that things are a lot different than your perception.
Yeah.
So
taking their times.
So what I'm going to do, Drina, I'm going to send her over patterns and she's going to start making me things. Right, Anne, let's get over to you. And I've got loads of other things I want to talk about. Anything?
No, nothing. Sorry.
Right, okay. So what I need to do is, as I did last week, right, I need to open that box, right, and I need to, oh, God. Oh, it's happened again. Right, hang on. Stop. Right, okay, there. It's happened again, folks. Oh, yes, I've worked it out.
What else?
So if we start off with a sheep and a stone, going on the beach, saving. On Saturday, I was saving Portuguese man of wars on the beach, chucking them out at sea because I didn't want to see them die. With gloves on, naturally, and then people were further up the beach were screaming and shrieking that they just got stung by a jellyfish. But that's life. I also visited this wonderful stone, right, which I want to tell you about, which I've done a video of. So it's a Roman stone, right? I want to show you that. I've just sheared my first sheep of the year, Mauer. So if anyone wants wool, and obviously we'll go onto my wonderful world of Carthaginians. So right, okay, everybody quiet. Right, okay, let's just have we'll have a little look at this stone first. So what we're going to do we're going to get you guys to look at my screen share, which should work straight away this time. Right, go. It's gonna happen. Go. Right. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. There we go. And it's gonna go. Bingo. There it is. Straight away. Do you know I'm good at this, right? So I was after saving the jellyfishes on the beach and doing my stone skimming. We went to a place called Penbryn, right? And there's a place called Tresize. And Michelle said, "Oh, there's a standing stone nearby." Right. And I thought we'll have a look at this standing stone. And I was really intrigued with seeing this standing stone. And I've done a video of it, so I don't want to spoil the video. It's on YouTube. But one thing about this carving, right? You can clearly see that carving there is very different from that carving down there, right? So if we get another image, right, you'll see what I mean, right? So we look around this stone, and I've done a big video of it, right? And that word "iakit" at the bottom, right? So we're going to get a clearer image. I did loads of images of this, right? Oh, hang on a minute, wait, something about a parking fee there. So hang on, can we get this there? Hang on. You can see all the vishes there. You can see iakit. So I've got to try and get my hang on a minute. What's going on here? Hang on, I'm trying to get an image up a minute. Right, where is it? Right. Hang on. I just got to look at mine. I just got to look at something a minute. So we will be on to this in a minute. I just got to get a reference correct, pronunciation or something. Hang on. I don't know if anyone's seen this video online.
No.
Right. Okay. Yes. But basically, what you can clearly see there is, and if I can get my, oh, I can't do the technology, but you can see in the first line on the right hand side, there's the word Korbalengi, right, and the word Ordovicius, right, and then you've got iakit underneath. You've got those carvings, iakit. So I looked at this and I thought those carvings above, those two words are very different than that carving down there, and I got really excited about it. So I did a whole video of it, an 8-minute video, right? So that carving there is very different from that carving, right? And I took the whole thing apart in this video, right? And then I realized that the iakit has actually been probably added later on. It's probably an antiquarian forgery, that word iakit. And iakit means "here lies," which basically changes the meaning of the stone. And then everyone in this under the sun, right, is talking about their stone, and they're saying Korbalengi is a king in the 500s, and there's no reference for this Korbalengi in the 500s. And I just thought, hang on a minute, why can't he be in the 300s, right? Because that writing iakit, "here lies," if that is genuine, right, and that's fresher, right? You know, I started looking at this, and everyone's saying, "Oh, it's a stone carved in the 500s," and then I started to think the word Ordovicius, which is Ordovicius, it's spelled there Ordovs, so it'd be Ordovicius. So the name Ordovicius, like the name Sailu is given to tribal people in South Wales, this is the Ordovicius is a name given to people in West Wales, right? So if this stone was carved in the late 400s, 500s, when Roman era civilization has collapsed in Britain, why would they be using a tribal name, the Ordovicius, if they never called themselves the Ordovicius in the first place? So that means that this stone probably dates to the 300s, when the name Ordovicius for the local area would have been used by Roman administration. So I'm not going to say any more about that video, but it's online, and it's I felt it was absolutely fascinating, right? So what we're going to do, we're going to then, I'm just going to show you. I was doing some sheep shearing. There she is.
Oh.
There's my mower. I basically got this whole fleece up for sale if somebody wants to buy it, right? So the next thing I want to show you, right? So if we get off here, we go up or go away all those, right? Oh, hang on a minute. There's a hang on a minute. There's the fleece anyway. Look at that. It's wonderful. And this itself, you can clearly see there on this high resolution image by the Royal Commission on Ancient Historical Monuments. You can clearly see that Corbulengi there, and Ordovici's there. And I started to think that that G there doesn't look right because somebody's put an extra line on it. So, and that could be an actual fault of the rock. So instead of being Corbulengi, this is somebody known as Corbulenki, right? And the other thing as well is that eye there, which would be the end of Corbulenki or Corbulengi, is part of this other carving, Iakit. So it's Corbeleng or Corbeleng. So I was looking at that and getting really, really excited after seeing the stone. And that's another little bit of a carving as well. So, so where we're going to go next is we're going to try and find my images from last week. Oh, hang on a minute. Not that. Here we go. Images. These are the images that I want to show you. And this is basically based on some of the structural stuff and something that I found out, right, that the wonderful Carthaginians were trading with the Britons many years ago. So, but before we do that, I've got to bring us back to where I was last week. Not standing in the street, not with my sheep. Bingo. So where we were last week, I'm sorry these images are all over the place this week, but it's just been, I've been doing loads of stuff, right? So remember last week we were talking about the Second Punic War, right? And the Second Punic War ended in 201 BC. That's all you need to know. So because we do everything else. So last week we did the Battle of Cana, right, which is there on the map, which was by far Hannibal's most amazing victory over the Romans. He ripped the Romans' backsides so hard, right, that Cana falls into one of the most amazing victories of anybody in history over their foe. And Hannibal beat the Romans, but this is poking the bear. Hannibal had beaten the Romans. And I read something. I don't know if it's going to be mentioned in my notes today. I don't think it is actually. So I found it from somewhere, right? So when we're thinking about Hannibal, and we're thinking about, no matter how many times Hannibal beats the Romans, right? The Romans would have kept coming back because the Romans absolutely hated the Carthaginians. They really hated the Carthaginians with the blood, whatever, right? So. Somebody mentioned, because we're going to do this today, we're going to do the Battle of Zama, which is there. Now, the Battle of Zama occurred in 202 BC, right? So, and then after the Battle of Zama, which was Hannibal was defeated, what basically happened was that the Carthaginian world is just so reduced as an empire or a world that the Romans have got what they wanted. And then eventually in the last Punic War, the Third Punic War, right, the end game is in the year 146 BC, where the Roman Empire seizes all of the Carthaginian Empire and kills all those 750,000 people in the city of Carthage. So what I've done today, I've decided not to do it. I've decided to do what I'm going to do with the Carthaginians today. Add it in with the British stuff, but I'm not going to do the Third Punic War because I may as well just do all of the history other than the Romans, right? It'd be great to do the Third Punic War, but basically what happens in the Third Punic War, Carthage in the scale of us thinking about Roman era Britain is no longer there because they're no longer a trading power, right? However, what I wanted to mention is following this great victory at Cana, there at Cana, in Italy, right? Hannibal became revered, even by, and I mentioned this last week, even by the one of the descendants of Alexander the Great. Remember, Alexander the Great is dead and buried by 320 years BC, right? So the year now, what we're talking about is the period from the 217 to 201 BC, right? And after the Battle of Cana, Philip V of Macedon, right, the old kingdom of Alexander the Great, issues a coin celebrating the victory of Hannibal over the Romans. How can a Greek even think of doing that? And the Greeks would obviously know that. So there's Hannibal. We've got lots of illustrations of Hannibal on coins and stuff. But Hannibal has come into his own in later times, and that's a statue related to Hannibal, and that's in the Louvre, 1704. So whether Hannibal looked like that, it's quite a good tribute to the guy. And after the Battle of Zama, basically Hannibal just went elsewhere. He fought other people's wars, and he just fell off the stage. Which is fair enough. But let's just try and get into more of this link, right? I was going to read that out, but I couldn't make any sense of it. So there's a shield of Henry II of France depicting Hannibal's victory at Cana, an allusion to France's conflict with the Holy Roman Empire during the 1500s. So basically, this sort of one of the things about these ancient battles, and I just a reminder, I keep mentioning this about the American Civil War. One of the great things that the generals in the American Civil War were witnessing and looking at and studying were battles like this, the Cana and Zama, and then we're looking at the campaign of Vercingetorix, which the generals much later on that they're studying to actually learn how to be generals for the American Civil War. It's one of those interesting things, and when again, Hannibal has to be remembered as being in the same category as Alexander the Great, in the same category as Napoleon. So he needed to be mentioned, and Julius Caesar. Don't forget Julius Caesar. So we've got to see this as being relevant to what we're doing, and this sort of this little epitaph to this wonderful campaigner, this wonderful general. And again, we're reminded that with all of this, it doesn't matter how many times Hannibal defeats the Romans, right? Invading the likes of Italy with his elephants, this great victory on the 2nd of August, 216 BC. It doesn't matter how many times. Capturing Rome is something that Hannibal should have done, right? And it would have been expedient to end in the Roman Empire forever, and would be called the Carthaginian Empire, and history would have been very different. Christianity would have probably been tolerated. There would have been no tarring and burning of Christians at the Colosseum, because the Colosseum wouldn't have existed. So, and also maybe there would be no Jesus Christ in Christianity, because there would be no Romans to crucify Jesus in the first place. Bingo. So, and then there would be no Islam, because Islam is a byproduct of Christianity again. None of this would have happened. But Carthage lost. That's it. End of it. That they can't do any more than that. So this is a nice little quote. We chuck this on the screen there. Few battles, Cana, again, 2nd of August, 216 BC. Few battles of ancient times are more marked by ability than the Battle of Cana. The position was such as to place every advantage on Hannibal's side. And in other words, this is going to be great inspiration for Napoleon. Yeah, and Napoleon's battles. Yeah, so Napoleon. I think the facts and figures are Napoleon fought 40 battles and he won 32 of them. So there you go. But anyway, so he's inspired by Hannibal. So the manner in which the far from perfect Hispanic, the Spanish, and the Gallic French foot was advanced in a wedge, in an echelon, was first held there and then withdrawn step by step until it had reached the converse position, is a single masterpiece of battle tactics. In other words, it's drawing the enemy into fighting you. This is what you've got to do, the Romans. You've got to get them fighting you. So they advance at the proper moment of the African infantry, and it's wheel right and left upon the flanks of the disordered and crowded Roman legionary. So basically, it's a pincer movement, right? You got your army in the middle, and you get the flanks, and you sort of go around them, right? So the whole battle from the Carthaginian standpoint is a consummate piece of art, having no superior, few equal examples in the history of war, other than Alexander the Great beating Darius. But then again, Darius's army wasn't much cop, right? Darius had, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of warriors, and the Romans outnumbered the Carthaginians here. But the point is, this is a masterstroke of Hannibal. So again, there's more of it. A battle of annihilation can be carried out today according to the same plan devised by Hannibal in long forgotten times. The enemy front is not the goal of the principal attack. So the enemy's there in front of you, but you do the wings, right? And if anyone likes studying weird battles like the Battle of Sedgemoor, in Somerset, the young pretender, he comes over and he's defeated, and but that's a flank battle as well. So hit your flanks, not the middle, hit the flanks. So the mass of the troops and the reserves should not be concentrated against the enemy front. Yeah, there we go. The essence is that the flanks be crushed. So in other words, you kick out the left and the right soldiers of the enemy in front of you. So the wings should not be sought at the advantage points at the front, but rather along the entire depth and extension of the enemy formation. The annihilation is completed through an attack against and then when you've done the left and the right of the army in front of you, you go around them. You just go around them, you surround them, you swarm them. You don't need to outnumber the enemy. The enemy can outnumber you, but if the enemy doesn't know what's going on, Alexander the Great with Darius is a completely different battle. Alexander the Great was outnumbered about 3 or 4 to 1, but he still won the battle against Darius. And Hannibal, this is the same thing. No, Hannibal's not being outnumbered 3 or 4 to 1, but he is outnumbered, and he still wins the battle. To bring about a decisive annihilating victory requires an attack against the front and against one or both flanks. In Hannibal's case, at this battle, both flanks, and then you go for the center. You're surrounding the enemy. Job done. Bob's your uncle. The enemy's wiped out. Cana. So a medieval representation of the Battle of Cana. Obviously, we did Cana last week in quite a lot of detail, if you can remember. And those facts is that the Romans had 86,000 soldiers. Hannibal had 50,000, defeating the Romans hands down. I don't know why that's there. So what we've got to do now is we've got to do all these gubbins, and I found all these gubbins last week, and I got really excited by them. So I just asked myself a question: why the hell am I doing Carthage? Right? What bearing? What raison d'etre? Why is Carthage beating a drum for me this week? And the remarks of David Arnside was, I didn't know any of this, which is great. So we've learned something, and we've all learned something by looking at this, right? So these are questions. I typed in these questions, and I got the text on in front of us. So Carthage did trade with Britain. There you go. So that's the link. Carthage trading with Britain before the Romans. Carthage trading with Britain, maybe in the 300, 400, 500, maybe. Remember, Carthage was originally a Phoenician state, right? So what we could say is that we know the Phoenicians were coming over, getting tin off people in Cornwall, right? We know that, or we think we know that. There's references to it. After Carthage become its own independent state, right? So we're looking into the 500s. Then Carthage is then trading with Britain for its tin. It was a crucial component in making bronze, and that's one of the points. So if you're talking about where is Carthage, well, Carthage controls Spain eventually, and then the Romans take it, and then Carthage controls North Africa. So the straits going into the Atlantic Ocean. There you go. So you're going to go out there, and you're going to go north. You're going to go south. Well, you go north, and you keep going along the coastal hugging, and you're going to come across tin, right? So I've got a little component about a coin that was found in Britain. So this trade is evidenced by archaeological find like a Carthaginian coin discovered in England and historical accounts of Carthaginian trade routes extended to Britain. So there we've got, so Carthage, a powerful maritime empire, relied heavily on tin for its bronze production, which is essential for tools, weapons, and other crafts, and obviously trading with everybody else in the Mediterranean. The Egyptians were great users of copper. We see loads of it. The Egyptians love copper, so the Carthaginians are not fighting the Egyptians. They're trading with them, right? So one moment we're saying that the Carthaginians are invading Italy and they're defeating every general other than Scipio, which is where we're going to go by the end. But they don't want to conquer Egypt. They trade with Egypt. They're a trading power. They've got this brain to trade, right, rather than conquest. The difference is with the Carthaginians and Rome is that the Romans want to conquer. And again, to the comment that somebody made of this presentation a couple of weeks ago, they said, Carl, you've got a romantic view of Rome. The Romans were bloody and brutal. Have I said anything other than that? So I'm not making out that the Romans are toothless, nice people. I'm saying that they are quite bloodthirsty. And we're making a comparison here. So Carthage, a powerful maritime empire, relied heavy on tin for its bronze production, and that again is that sort of epitaph of who these people are and where they fit with everything. So there you go. A bit more about this trade routes to Britain. Carthage trade network extended to Britain, with evidence suggesting they had established trade routes potentially through Iberia, Spain, to acquire tin. There is other tin in Europe, right? There's a bit of tin in Germany. There's a bit of tin in northern Italy, but that's going to be controlled by the people in Tuscany, right? So those people that are now being taken over by Rome by the middle part of the 200s, the Etruscans, that beautiful people, the Etruscans. So a Carthaginian coin, which we'll see soon.
Didn't they have tin in Spain?
I do believe there was. Oh yeah, we've already done this with the Bronze Age stuff. Yeah, so we got a little bit of tin, but not as much, right?
Okay.
We got silver there. Remember, tin, silver. Yeah, you are right. But obviously, the main tin that we're talking about is Britain, right? So let's not get distracted by that. But yeah, good point. So this Carthaginian coin featuring a horse's head and the goddess Tanit, dating back to the Iron Age, was found in Salford near Bristol, indicating a direct connection between the Mediterranean and southwest England. So Carthage's monopoly on tin. So Carthage sought to control the tin trade. So obviously that goes in with Spain, attempting to keep the location of the mine secret and maintaining a monopoly, which was a significant source of their wealth and power. But there's a point there to be made, Margaret. We're not talking about conquest by the sword. We're talking about trade. That's their conquest. So we do go on to Herodotus again later on. So the Greek historian Herodotus described a silent trade practice, potentially involving Carthaginian merchants, where they would leave goods on the shore and wait for buyers to leave gold in exchange. That's a rather interesting one, and I'm sure that's so they might go places and leave stuff, and hopefully people are going to leave gold. I'm not sure. That's quite romantic, Herodotus. But again, the name Herodotus, this historian, this wonderful historian. And the one thing I would say about Herodotus is that what we are going to do, we're going to look at these historians whether they're Greek historians, whether they're Roman historians, Egyptian historians. We will be doing that as a separate sort of entity, you know, so we can actually understand who these historians are. So this itself, and you've got the goddess Tanit. There is this wonderful gold coin, beautiful. And again, there's no writing on it, but again, really, really well produced coins. Now, when I went into looking at Carthaginian architecture, it was mainly all deliberately destroyed and wiped out by the Romans. Again, the Romans hated the Carthaginians so much they destroyed their mausoleum sites. They destroyed all their temples. They destroyed whatever they could that people could be reminded of the Carthaginians, right? And if you want to do a comparison, and I'm not going to apologize for this, if you want to do a comparison, it would be like the Germans being successful in the Second World War by wiping out all those different groups of people, right? And there's none of them left, right? You know, by 1945, Germans would never have won the Second World War, but, you know, stroke of the imagination that they did, you'd have had all these millions and millions of people gone in Europe, right? And lots of them were killed. But the point is that when we look at the Romans and the Carthaginians, the Romans did a really good job with the Carthaginians. If you were Carthaginian, you weren't going to live. They had a blood hate. They really hated the Carthaginians. To be humiliated in the way that the Romans had been humiliated at the hands of the Carthaginian, that there was no way out for the Carthaginians, right? The pure gold, this beautiful gold, the trading gold, and people talk about tin. But nobody's mentioned about where they're getting the gold from, right? They could be getting the gold from the likes of Cornwall as well, because there's gold in Cornwall where the tin is. And Ireland, my God.
Nubia.
Carthaginians going to Ireland. What's that, Rog? Nubia, exactly. North Africa as well. But we are talking about trade, Rog. We are talking about moving the trade around the world. Yeah. So there we go. A bit more information. So the Carthaginians unlaid their wares and, having disposed them after an orderly fashion along the beach, if this is Herodotus, leave them and return into their ships, raise a great smoke, come down to the shore, and laying out to view so much gold as they think the worth of the wares, withdraw to a distance. So this is a really weird way that Herodotus is saying things. I wonder if this. Shut up, Rod. I wonder if, for example, Christopher Columbus could have done the same thing with the natives in the West Indies in 1492, just leaving some goods along the beach, and then local people leave gold, and then Christopher Columbus goes off. But that simply didn't happen. So the Carthaginians, upon this, come ashore and look. If they think the gold is enough, they take it and go their way. But if it does not seem to them sufficient, they go aboard ship once more and wait patiently. Then the others approach and add to their gold till the Carthaginians are content. That's a really weird way of doing trade, but if that's what Herodotus is saying, then we can't argue with Herodotus, because I haven't got anyone else to talk to. So again, this sort of sense of coinage. So we've got Tanit there, and the bottom corner there, with a wonderful stallion, and we've got an elephant, and I do believe that that's probably a representation of Hannibal. And these beautiful, beautiful coins. Rome is producing coins at this stage, and so are the Greeks, and the Greeks have been producing them for quite some years, to be honest with you. But again, this gives you an idea of the sense of who they are. When you actually dig into looking at the Carthaginians were a very wealthy people. their middle class was extremely wealthy, and their poor was probably wealthy in comparison with anyone else. So, you know, these 8 streets bearing gold, but they're definitely something special. And the one thing that I would say, the one thing that I would say about all of this, when you can compare the Carthaginians with the Inca Empire. So when Pizarro is coming across the Inca, right? Obviously Pizarro and Cusco and so on, Ayamarca, you're talking about all of that, and you're talking about into the 1530s, right? So we do have streets paved with gold within the Incan world, right? And the conquistadors wanted that. They wanted it. You know, Spain was the most wealthiest nation overnight. You know, and there's loads of galleons that went down, but the gold that actually got to Spain made Spain very wealthy. The point is that the reason why I'm mentioning this is that the conquistadors and the Spanish were very jealous of what the Incas had, and that's the metaphor for the Carthaginians and the Romans. The Romans were very jealous of the Carthaginians. They wanted what the Carthaginians had, and they took it. So, again, this wonderful little map here, and what we have is the commercial network of the Phoenicians, which is in turn the network which would have been followed by the Carthaginians. Obviously, the Carthaginians are independent, and Tangier, there you go. And again, this sort of, these people are very different from what the Romans were, and what the Romans were broadcasting the world. Hang on. Oh, and also, there we go. And look at that. So we've got Carthaginian pottery there on the left. I'm really struggling working out what that is on the right. And this is a Carthaginian vessel. And can I just share something with you? I haven't got an image of it. When I went to Rhodes, we won't talk about who I went to Rhodes with, but when I went to Rhodes years ago, right, the people I was with, I decided I'd had enough of them, so I just decided to do my own thing. So I went to Lindos, right, and at Rhodes Town it is. Yeah, that's it, Rhodes Town. I went to Rhodes Town, and there's an Acropolis there, right? I think I got that right. The Acropolis is in Rhodes, right? And as you're going up to the Acropolis in Rhodes Town, you go up there, and there's this ship scene carved into the stone. It's absolutely beautiful. It's orgasmic. This carving in the rock going up to the Acropolis, right? So if you ever get a chance
to go to the
Acropolis. It's Lindos, is it? Oh, right. Okay. Sorry if I made that mistake. So, have you been there? Have you, Rog? You know the carving I'm talking about?
No, it was me, Andy. Yeah, I have seen it. Yeah, it's in Lindos. Yeah.
Oh, Andy, do you know we didn't actually ask you if you've got any contribution to make today?
Yeah, you did. I didn't have anything to say, I'm afraid. I remembered seeing something, but I can't remember what it was, so I had to keep quiet.
Right. So is my description of this boat at Lindos absolutely beautiful?
Yeah, it is. It's stunning. Yeah.
Should we just try and find it online now?
Yeah, because it's a really wonderful relief carved.
Right, let's just try and find it. Let's just go and see it. It's definitely at Lindos, is it, Andy?
Yeah, Lindos.
Lindos, ship carving. Right, ship carving. I this will take me back a bit because I haven't actually seen it since I was there. You've seen it as well, Roger, have you?
No, not to Lindos, no. Others were not there.
Right, okay. Hang on. Lindos, Ulverston. How the hell's Ulverston on there? Lindos Jewelry Shop in Ulverston. What? How the hell has that happened?
No, that's not what you typed.
Yeah, but why has it come up with Ulverston?
I have no idea.
The only place with a bloody lighthouse 26 miles away from the sea. Lindos ship
Greek
ship
Lindos.
carving. Right, ship carving. Right, okay, there we go. Am I going to find it there?
What's
I think
that?
it's at the. Oh,
Yeah.
oh my God! Oh my God! I'm back there, Andy. Hang on. Oh yes. Look at that.
Cracker.
Oh, look at that. I am there. Do you know, I managed to get into the site because at that time I was a member of the. I was actually I was a member of the Institute of Field Archaeology, and I showed them my pass, and I was able to get in free. I love that bit. Because they thought I was this really Andy. They thought I was an eminent archaeologist.
Absolutely.
Actually, Andy, they
Oh.
did. But that is the carving. It doesn't portray this well at all, right? But that there is this carving, and
Big does.
it would be good to get some. Hang on a minute. If I look at that there, right? So what we're going to do, we've gone off on a tangent, and let's just see if I can go on my device here and actually see. And we see what Lindos. Oh, hang on a minute. How has this phone got the same info? Oh, I don't know. It's something weird happening here. Right. So the Lindos stone ship carving is a relief of an ancient trireme. This relief is a significant example of Hellenistic maritime history and is located at the base of the steps leading up to the Acropolis. Right, and the carving is believed to date back to around 180 to 170 BC, which would be around the second time, which would be coming up to the Second Punic War. Not the Second Punic War, the third and last Punic War, which by 146 BC, Carthage would no longer exist. But this is a time of the Hellenistic period, which is the time of the illumination of the Greek world before they conquered. By the likes of the Romans.
So is that a Greek ship then, or is it?
It's a Hellenistic trireme. So basically,
right.
Hellenism is basically the Doric order of ancient Greece.
Ooh.
Right. So you've got the Ionic, the Doric, and is that right? Ionic, Doric. Right. Hang on a minute. Let me get. So this is this itself. I can remember seeing this, and I've not seen it since.
It's a very curvy prow. What do they call it? A prow at the front? A big curved bit at the front.
The bow.
The bow.
Yeah. The bow and the stern. Yeah.
Yeah.
The bowsprit.
The bowsprit. Well,
Exactly.
So
before we go off this, let's just see if we can find another image. They're all. Oh, hang on a minute. Oh, that looks good. Yeah, good. So you've got the steps, and you can see them, and it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. So I thought I'd show you that. I'm glad I went off on a tangent. Thank you, everybody, contributing towards that. I'm glad. Otherwise, we wouldn't have found it. So right, okay. So I've got to work out where we were again. So let's just. We got the we got the sheep's wool. Hang on a minute. Oh my God, it's all mixed up here. Oh yeah, we got to there. And also my parents' 60th anniversary.
Where's your mum?
Well, my mum's over on the right there. There's Michelle. There's my brother Dean. And there's Chris. You remember Chris, don't you?
Yeah.
He's putting his finger up there. And there's his wife, my niece. So right, anyway. So what we're gonna do now? We've done that bit, but I just wanted to let's just get on with the last bit. So there we go. Corbelengi stone. Oh, no, I don't want any of that right there. Okay. Oh yeah, a spider's web in the gut. Oh yeah, it was loads of little spiders. Sorry. Right. Okay. Obviously, this coin, Tanit, the goddess Tanit, and we've got that beautiful. This is the coin, as we've already mentioned, which was actually found in Bristol. Again, here's some information about it. So we've got these little bit of share stuff on the screen. So so you're looking at that detail and just remembering that that's over 2,220 30 odd years old. You know, so it's really a beautiful object. And there's a horse on there as well. What's that, Rog?
Fine carving. Very good carving.
Beautiful detail on that. Absolutely beautiful detail on that. But the one thing the one thing I've got to say is it talks about the refinement of these people. This refined people. And again, here's me arguing with myself. These are refined people. And again, if Rome had not conquered them, then the history of the world would be so different today that I can't guess what it would be like, right? But Rome wanted to destroy Carthage. That was what was going to happen. Anyway, back to this coin and the link with Britain. Some really nice information. So a single Carthaginian coin found near Salford between Bristol and Bath provides evidence of trade links between the Mediterranean and the southwest of England during the Iron Age. Can we just move on with a little illustration, right? So basically, it's associated with the River Avon, this coin, right? And the thing is I wanted to mention is this is nothing to do with Cornwall. This is to do with the River Avon, right? And you're thinking that what the hell are the Carthaginians doing up by the River Avon, right? So this they knew about Britain. They were trading. Maybe they were all over the shop, right? So, but this is the point. This is what I want to mention. It's the River Avon there. It's there, and you're just thinking, but Cornwall's over there, and the River Avon's there. So they would have gone around the Scilly Islands, right? This is the point. The weird seas around the Scilly Islands. So they'd gone around the Scilly Islands, and they'd gone up the coast, quite rocky, and they would have ended up going to Avon, right? Probably seeing me being airlifted from the coastline, but that's another story that Andy knows all about. So what we need to do then is go back to this. So this coin itself, dating back to the 200s, 230s, somewhere like that, features a horse's head, as we know, on one side, and the Carthaginian goddess Tanit on the other. So there's no writing on it. It didn't need writing. You don't need it, right? It's universal, right? It's a bit like the doubloon, right? The silver and gold doubloon was the monetary coin everywhere on the planet at one stage, right? You didn't need to read the writing, right? You just needed to see that it's a doubloon, right? So these coins back in the day, the Carthaginian coins were the doubloons of the day, the trading items of the day. So this find, along with other evidence of our Carthaginian trade routes and goods found in the Mediterranean, suggest that the area may have been part of a trade route connecting the southwest of England with the western Mediterranean. So one thing that we've got to say is that, you know, all those legends with Atlantis, you know, something out there. There is something out there in the Atlantic Ocean, right? There are other trading peoples, right? And that's the whole point. We've got to mention Lloyd George in there, and at the same time, we've got to mention King Arthur for Judith. Everybody's happy. So here we go. So it was discovered in the silt of the River Avon, a key piece of evidence. It's Carthaginian coin, strong links with the Mediterranean. And again, there's a few words there that are rather interesting, right? It says it's Carthaginian origin and dating to the Iron Age, strongly suggests contact with the Mediterranean. But the Iron Age, right? Hang on a minute. This is, you know, the Mediterranean, there, and Britain, Iron Age and stuff. Yeah, Britain was in the Iron Age in the 200s BC, right? But the Mediterranean wasn't. It moved past that. But it's just want to chuck that in there. You know, people's interpretations of the world and so on. When we think, for example, about the people of Papua New Guinea, for example, they're still in the Stone Age, but where are we now? So you can have people in different worlds. For example, somebody might shout green a minute, but I'm going to say it. When the likes of the Vikings got to the New World, when they got to North America, right? technically the Native Americans, right, in North America are in the Stone Age, right? Some of them are in the Stone Age, some of them are in the Copper Age, some of them, most of them, they're not in the Iron Age, you know, but they're very sophisticated people, right? They don't have iron, right? So some have copper, some don't even have that. But what I'm trying to say is that you get different people in different cultures and different links and stuff at different times on the planet, right? So like Roger's not even in the computer age, you know. Shut up, Rog. So while the coin is the most direct evidence, other sources suggest that Carthage, a major Phoenician power, was involved in Atlantic trade, including the search for tin from Cornwall. Limited evidence. It's important to note that while the coin provides a tangible link, direct archaeological evidence of Carthaginian settlements or extensive trade goods in Britain is scarce. But we've obviously got the stuff that's going to the Mediterranean from Britain. And it's just trying to find everywhere else, right? And if Herodotus is right, they're not going to be settling in Cornwall because they're getting off their boats, leaving stuff on the shore, and then getting back on the boats and then waiting to be paid. How does that work, though? It's just such a weird way of trading. If that happened in Barry, right? If that happened in Barry in the day, right? The poor old Carthaginians would be putting their goods on the beach, right? And as they're leaving their goods on the beach, their ship had been nicked as well as the stuff on the beach, right? So how does that work? But obviously the Carthaginians are fairly trustful people. So we've done this, and other evidence. We've got these literary sources, which we're going to go on to. Other evidence, such as literary sources, mentioning Carthaginian voyages to Britain and the presence of Punic artifacts in Spain. And North Africa supports the idea of trade connections. There you go. So obviously they're going to find this stuff in Spain because it was part of the Carthaginian War. But, you know, I think they're referring to is goods from Britain in Spain and North Africa, which is quite interesting. Potential for tin. One of the primary reasons for Carthaginian interest in Britain, especially Cornwall, was likely the tin trade, as tin was a crucial component in bronze production. As we know, we don't need to mention that, but just a reminder. The Romans, in their interactions with Britain, also recognized the importance of tin and likely continued some of the existing trade routes. And again, what we've got to do, and I got to remember if it's in my book or not, right? I do believe we're doing a certain Phoenician trader that is before the Carthaginians, and he comes to Britain, or they come to Britain, and that's another link. The Phoenicians, Carthaginians, there's another link, but we're not doing that one today. Oh, God. Anyway, so I think what we're going to do is we might grapple through all. I don't know how many slides I got left. Actually, I'm whittering on, but I wanted to type this onto the internet. I'm using my AI a lot, really, and I'm not using so much in my books now because I don't have much about Carthage because my books are on Rome. So there we go. Somebody said, did Celtic Britons fight in the Carthaginian army? So somebody says, I'm currently down a Wikipedia rabbit hole reading about the Carthaginian Empire. The introduction to the page of ancient Carthage asserts that the Carthaginian army was composed heavily of foreign mercenaries and auxiliaries, including Celtic Britons. But the person saying, I can't find a satisfactory source for this last claim. Better sourced and more believable to me are the claims that there are some degree of Carthaginian trade with Britain, which we've just talked about, and that Punic Carthaginian recruiters toured all corners of the Mediterranean, attracting mercenaries and fugitive slaves. So is there any evidence that there were Britons fighting in the military of ancient Carthage? Not that we can attest to. And the problem is, when you've got the Romans wiping out all the evidence, and when they're just leveling. Well, they level Carthage, not only level it, they just blitz it. They just get rid of everything. But my folks, there's one city that they didn't manage to completely destroy, and there's one piece of archaeology, the only surviving Carthaginian monument on the planet. I kid you not. I show you that today. So there's Herodotus, and again, we're going to do all these wonderful writers, even Galena, which is completely out of context. We'll do a few Ptolemies. We'll even do Julius Caesar as a writer, Vespasian. We'll do them all. Pliny the younger, Pliny the older. There you go. But a bust. Now that's not far away from. You'll be talking about 1,900 years old. That's a bust. That's not too far away from what Herodotus looked like. Herodotus, there you go. Being born in Halicarnassus in basically modern day Turkey. The Halicarnassus monument, that's something that was meant to be one of the ancient wonders of the world. Mind you, there was loads of ancient wonders of the world. In fact, Herodotus wrote a list of ancient wonders of the world. Did you know that fact? There you go. That's in the quiz. So he born in 4 BC, and he died in 425 BC, aged about 60, in Macedon, and he was a historian. There you go. But that's probably quite a good likeness. Then again, maybe it's not, because they stylistically, isn't it? The Romans put every very old person with a beard and hair, right? But all intelligent people don't have hair. See, that was one for Andy. He liked that bit. So there we go. We'll tell you a little bit about Herodotus, and we've got to talk about Cassaturtides, which is basic. I can't even say it. Cassaturtides, which might be interesting for all of us. Herodotus, the Greek historian, again, he was Greek. Lots of Roman historians were Greek or something else. Did not directly mention Britain in his writings. However, he did discuss the Cassaturdes. Well, that's what we call it, Cassaturdes, a group of islands believed to be in the far west of Europe, beyond the gates of Hercules, beyond Gibraltar, into the Atlantic Ocean, which some scholars identify with the Scilly Isles and Cornwall. Maybe. These islands were known for their tin production. Some say there's not a lot of tin in. I've read this as well. There's not as much tin in the Scilly Islands as people think. Well, there wouldn't be, because it's all gone. And Herodotus mentioned them is one of the earliest potential references to Britain in classical literature. So, in other words, if Britain is being mentioned in basically the 450s or something like that, it's the first writing that we've got of Britain existing from any point of view, right? So the Carthaginians, on the other hand, were a powerful maritime civilization in the Mediterranean, but there's no direct connection in Britain in Herodotus' work regarding them. So obviously we've got to go with everybody else. However, Cassaturtides, there we go. He's writing. Oh, there we go. I said 455. Never mind. 430 refers to the Tin Islands, Cassaturtes, as a source of tin, while the exact location of these islands is debated. Some scholars believe they were likely in the region of the Scilly Isles and Cornwall, which were known for their tin mines. But again, I was just reading this story and saying not much tin in the Scilly Islands. There is there anyway. Moving on. This is what this source is saying. So again, a little bit more information here about Herodotus and the Carthaginians. So Carthaginians were a Phoenician colony, which we know North Africa, a major naval power and trading power in the Mediterranean. They were not directly connected to Britain in Herodotus' account, but they who else is trading in the Mediterranean? Who else is trading for tin other than the Phoenicians and the Carthaginians? Phoenicians at this stage, where they are in Carthage, Tunisia, are actually Carthaginians. So although Herodotus' work is extensive, it does not specifically mention Britain as a place. His references to the Cassaturtes are the closest he comes to discussing the region. Now he's discussing this region that people are thinking, well, where is it then? Is it the Channel Islands, for example, or is it a load of islands that have been lost under the sea, or is it Atlantis?
Yay!
Yay! Graham Hancock, eat your heart out. I could double figures by even mentioning him now. Do you know, we had in one, it was either Tuesday or Wednesday, right? No word of a lie. We had 320 people watch the video. It was the one on Wednesday, but that's life. But yeah, everyone's gone quiet now. Some historians and scholars speculate that the tin trade routes from Britain to the Mediterranean might have passed through Carthaginian-controlled areas, but this is not explicitly stated by Herodotus. We're going to read that out. Go on, read that out, Margaret. You've been to Greece. Go on, Margaret, translate it for us. Go on.
These are the most distant lands in Asia and Libya.
Oh, you're really good at this. Well done. But concerning those in Europe that are the farthest away towards evening, I cannot speak with assurance, for I do not believe that there is a river called for foreigners Eridanus issuing into the Northern Sea, where our amber is said to come from. So he's talking about the sort of Mediterranean going into past the gates of Hercules into the Atlantic Ocean. That's what he's talking about, where the amber comes from. My God, hang on a minute. Stop. Where does the amber come from? It comes from the likes of East Prussia, Königsberg. You know, it comes from north of, well, actually modern day Poland. So hang on a minute. Are we talking about the Mediterranean people getting all the way to the bloody Baltic, right? Yeah, we are. Yeah. We are. That's where you get amber. There's no other. Well, I knew a woman called Amber, but we'll keep that between me and the walls, right? But right, shut up, Rog. Amber. Nor do I have any knowledge of tin islands where our tin is brought from. So basically, saying with all that gubbins, right? We've said people are going out, getting the tin. And amber, right? We know it's coming from there, right? He's saying it's coming from somewhere. People bringing this stuff in. So this is Herodotus for you. There you go. Good translation that was. It's great, isn't it? Now, this is the Codex Laurentanus. And this is written in the 900s. So this is from this is from Herodotus' work. It's been translated. And they're mentioning this place known as Cassaturtes. That's how I'm saying it. It's probably not that at all, right? But so is this Britain? Is Herodotus mentioning Britain? So if he is mentioning Britain, then that place that he's mentioning is either Scilly Isles or Great Britain. It's somewhere, right? A Britain at the end of the day is an island. They didn't know that, did they? Cassaturtes, meaning tin island or tin place. So there we go. Is it? Wow. So where else could it be other than Atlantis? Well, we'll forget about. Nobody told me Atlantis was full of tin. Forget that one. Margaret, stop making up fairy stories. So the tin place are an ancient geographical name used to refer to a group of islands whose precise location is unknown or maybe fictitious, but which was believed to be situated somewhere near the west coast of Europe. So where else is it then? Oh, it's obviously the Channel Islands. God, we'll get that archaeologist called Dr. Jersey in. Yeah, he does exist. He's an archaeologist, right? But this is one thing that really gets me in history, right? You've got somebody writing about somewhere, right? And they're just thinking, well, it can't be that. It can't be Britain. There's got to be other islands that don't exist. Or it's fantasy. Is it made up? How can it be made up? Because somebody's getting this amber from somewhere, right? Nobody talks about the amber, do they? And somebody's getting a tin from somewhere. So this is the map. This is by Strabo. Now, who's Strabo? This is why you've got to come along to my class looking at Roman and Greek historians. So there we go. This is another historian, Strabo. The map of Europe. And there it is. He mentions the islands there, the Cassaturtes, right, which is off the Iberian Peninsula. But he also mentions Britain. Or is that Brittany? That's not Britain. That's Brittany. Right? This is Strabo. This is obviously a map much later. The Cassaturtes, Atlantic Ocean, but before the British Isles, Britannia. But that Britannia is that actually referring to Britain? Is you got Ireland there? What's going on? Cassaturtes there is being mentioned by Strabo, right? So these are other islands, and these may actually be the Scilly Islands. I know it's a skip and a jump between the likes of the Scilly Islands. You don't want to go on a heavy swell, but I'm just warning you, don't sort of go out when the water's out. But the one thing about all of this is I think this is absolutely fascinating, because what we're doing, we're discovering Britain, and we're trying to understand Britain, and then it's the Britain that the Romans understand. Now, the one interesting thing as well is Strabo is actually writing between he's also a Greek, between 63 BC and 24 AD, right? There is obviously a knowledge of Britain, right? But there's also knowledge of Cassaturtes, right? These are Scilly Islands. That's the whole point. You know what's going on there, and this is obviously probably somebody's just re-enhanced this in later times. So I just got to double check to see how many images I've got. Oh, right, we haven't got many. Right, so we'll just do these ones, right? And then I'm gonna have a crisp sandwich, which Anne's gonna get really upset with me talking about a crisp sandwich. I'm gonna be really unhealthy at this minute. I'm gonna pour a glass of lemonade. So modern writers have made many attempts to identify them. Small islands off the northwest coast of the Iberian Peninsula, the headlands of that same coast, the Isles of Scilly, Cornwall, and the British Islands as a whole have all in turn been suggested, but none suits the conditions. What conditions? Neither the Iberian Islands nor the Isles of Scilly contain tin, but I thought we just mentioned that they do contain tin, at least in significant quantities. Well, they don't contain tin in significant quantities because it's all been taken, hasn't it? Get a life. And most of the tin seams would be relatively near the surface anyway, right? The lods would be relatively near the surface. So it seems most probable, therefore, that the name Cassaturtes represents a first vague knowledge of the Greeks. The tin was found overseas, somewhere in, off, or near Western Europe. But we don't really know. Oh, and by the way, a message for Emma. The dodgy git is online, and he's saying hi to you, Emma. He's missing you tonight. So this is this is another map. This is a medieval map of where where this wonderful landmass is, right? And you're just getting an idea that that's the north of Spain. That's basically Portugal, and they're basically saying it's the islands off the coast of the Iberian Peninsula. Right? But equally, they could be the Scilly Islands. And also the dodgy git is saying good evening, Emma. Emma and the dodgy git are close. Right. So basically after the break, right, we're going to look at this tower, right? This is the only upstanding piece of Carthaginian architecture ever in the world. Right. So we're going to look at this after the break. It's a mausoleum. And there would have been loads of these at one point. But there's no mausoleum standing today, other than this one. And there's another story about this, which I'm not actually going to tell you the truth. But it is Carthaginian. When I say I'm not going to tell you the truth, I'm not going to spoil it for you, right? But this is genuine Carthaginian architecture, right? But this is the biggest chunk of anything surviving anywhere on the planet, and all the rest was destroyed completely. And this is sort of I'll show you where this is now. It's there, right? It's basically Zama's a little bit sort of south east of this and sort of southwest of Tunis, but Battle of Zama, there we go. But the Romans missed this for some reason. How they managed to miss it and then just leave it there for all the time that they're ruling over the Carthaginian world, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. But there you go. That's that. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a break, and also Groovy Rodders. Dodgy get is saying hello to you, Rog.
Right.
All right, bro. Right. Anyway,
Oh,
right. So what we're gonna do? We're gonna take a break. Hopefully, I can work out how to stop the sharing. And what we're gonna do? We're gonna flip over to the other device, RF. Rog, I can see your chest.
Yes, strong man. That's it. Macho.
Oh my God! By the way, Roger's coming up with Emma and David to collect the books.
Is he?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have him there. I tell you what, Roger complains a lot when he's using somebody else's mobile phone in your car.
I'm sure they'll forget it.
I never forget that. I'll tell you all about that story. We had an excursion, right? And Roger was in the back of the minibus with Bill, right? And I can't remember what it was, but I couldn't hear what they were saying in the back of the bus. So I think I had to phone Bill to speak to Roger, and Bill was not happy. Why is he phoning on my phone? Why you've got to use my phone? And I had a big argument in the back of the bus because of his mobile phone. Roger knows that story's true.
I find it all very amusing.
Well, it is. Right, Rog, anything you want to say, darling?
No, sweetness. I'll see you later.
All right, we'll have about a 10-ish minute break. Pat, anything you want to say?
Nope, fine. Enjoyed it.
What about you, Margaret? Margaret's the Dodgy Git said to Margaret, your research next week is Howard Crowhurst.
Is who?
Howard Crowhurst.
Yeah.
Who's he?
Well, you got to look it up. You got to tell us all about it next week. Anything you want to say, Margaret?
I'm confused.
That's good. David, anything you want to say? David Rogers.
No, thank you.
Judith, Arthurian chick.
no, nothing from me, thank you.
And the woman with a nice stripy top. Anything you want to say?
Only that I do find war and battles, I don't know, so pointless, or they seem so, and yet they seem to be always going on. Have been, everything you've told us about for centuries. It just happens, doesn't it? I find that quite upsetting.
Confusing.
The thing is, what we've got now is that with all the technology, all the civilization that we've got now, we're still at war with people. I don't get it.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
You'd think they could learn something about behaving together if they can get all this technology, but we don't seem to be very good at that, do we? And I find it quite. I don't know, the fact that it keeps every session we have, there's somebody fighting somebody, aren't they? In a sense, at whatever stage of history you're looking at.
I don't really understand what was happening in Rome. Why they? I presume they just wanted control of the Mediterranean, didn't they? Is this what it was?
I just think go on.
There are so many others have done that, haven't they? I mean, we had a big empire. We needed to control everything, and then it's sort of at every stage people want to land grab and get power of something else, and it seems to just go on and on. It's just
I don't understand what was. It wasn't an empire. This was before the empire. Who was ruling Rome? Was it still being ruled by kings?
Well, the Roman world was being ruled by consuls and senators, right? So it was. But what we need to probably look at the Roman governance, which should be really good. We've got loads to do.
To do with the timeline.
Yeah.
It changes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just a bit confused as to where we are in the process of Rome.
This is why there's just so much to go through before we can even tackle and understand what Rome is about in Britain.
Yeah.
Do you know what the name of the last Roman king was?
I used to know, but we will definitely do that. Yeah, that's more research for you. You've got Howard Crowhurst.
I looked it up. It's called Lucius Superbus. That's the name.
I don't believe it.
Superbus.
Well, I know the name of the last Roman general. He's called Spictus Callus. He was so unique, they only called him Spictus Callus the first. Judith, anything you want to say?
Yeah, just quickly, that Tinius Tarquinius superbus means yeah, Tarquin the Proud is what that means. Got a little book.
Tarquin the Proud.
Hang on, how she got that so quick? I didn't. What?
Nice one,
She's
Judith.
got a book.
Yeah.
It's the little publication that my mum and dad saved it for one of our boys when they were at school, and I'm just trying to see it. It's from one of the big what were they called? The big broadsheet newspapers from the like it must have been the early 2000s. I'll find out.
Hang on a minute. So when did he die?
Oh, hang on. I've just had it
On the 14th of August.
1509 BC.
Hey.
Oh no, 509 BC is when he came to the throne, but then the Republic started in 494 BC because the Roman people formed an assembly because he was too proud and he went too far, so they rebelled against him.
So
He was very popular.
That's their leader in the Republic, isn't it?
All right.
So were those early kings Etruscans?
Oh heck! Sorry.
No.
Light on in a minute.
Are they not?
The Etruscans were from 615 BC to 510 BC.
Oh.
I don't know where they get these facts from. They might have changed their minds these are 20 years old, so they might have changed their minds by now, mightn't they? Found some new.
Hang on a minute. Dodgy Git's got some facts and figures here. 509 BC to 494 BC, 15 years, pillars of the past.
Nah, that's the same dates as in here.
So Superbus was Etruscan then?
He must have been.
Yeah.
Well, technically he was Roman, but that's another thing. Look, we'll come to that when we come to it.
Areas of Italy, yes.
Yeah.
Right. Okay then. Right. Emma and DR.
No, I haven't got anything, Carl. Thank you.
Right. And basically, the Dodgy Git is checking things. So, right. Yeah. Okay. He wants to check you out, Emma. Right. Drina.
No questions.
Andy, what about you, darling?
I love the accounts of these travels because I've come across a few of these before, and and until very recently, a lot of them have been taken as just sort of fantasy adventures until people realize, like you mentioned there, the amber, or there's something else comes up, and you're thinking, how could they couldn't have known that? How could they know? They have to have been there to find that out. You know, is it Piraeus or whatever he's called?
Piraeus, Piraeus.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That I've got a book on that, and it starts off almost like a bit of a joke. You're thinking, yeah, and then he gets a bit further on, and you're thinking, well, he couldn't have known that without being there. That's not possible, you know. Or talk to someone who had. So,
and that's the point. That is the point.
Yeah.
If he made it up, then he talked to someone else, right?
Yeah. So they are interesting factually. But yeah, and you know me about sort of navigating seas. I think we've been doing that for a very long time, and nobody really questions that. You know, they just think, oh, we had dugout canoes and we just went across when it was calm. And you think, well, no, they can't have done that. They had to have had seagoing vessels, which means they had to have had some sort of propulsion, and they had to have some sort of engineering and organization and navigation. You know, so. Much more sophisticated
and a hierarchy. Somebody had to tell people what to do.
Absolutely.
Well, that's why I'm going. Yeah, go and have a cup of tea. Exactly. But mind you, not all of this is really good, Andy, because the late medieval historian Arnold of Tody did profess to know that all English men had tails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what did he mean by that?
Andy! Don't get Emma too excited. Right. Okay, then. Talking about getting excited.
Yes.
28 years later. Drina.
No questions.
Right. Okay, then. So basically, the Dodgy Git hasn't got anything else to say at this minute, but we're going to have a break for we're gonna have a break for 10 minutes. So it's 8:36 now. We'll have a break for 10
Ooh,
minutes.
Okay.
Right. My God, 8:36. How the hell have I managed that? Flipping heck. Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna shift devices in a minute.
Can't bring free up. Oh.
Dad. I think I might have to go home. No, well, I'll come back and do it tomorrow. Yeah. No, I don't, it's the moon, isn't it? It's the moon energy. Yeah, that's what I can think of.
What's this?
Wait, I just want to go to bed. That's probably great. Mine. No, it's online.
Reggie, baby. Oh, I gotta feed the sheep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta feed the sheep. My sheep, and the chickens, and chickens. Yeah. Right, okay.
Yes, yeah, I believe that. All right, cool. Anyway, dinner was fun.
Yeah. It's very interesting.
Yeah, well, it really, yeah, I think so. All right. Don't know what happened if I go. Might drop out. Right, I'll see you tomorrow. Right, that's all right.
So I leave work to.
Yeah, leave for Kim. She's coming in the morning, isn't she?
Mess.
I know you. Again.
Half 8.
Yeah. 8:30?
I've got the money.
Yeah.
Okay, then.
All right. I'll call you in the morning. Yeah. All right. See you later. Yeah, we'll do.
Oh.
do it. Oh, buddy.
I can see Emma's bottom. We're having a guided tour of Emma's house by the looks of things. Hello.
Hiya.
Hello.
That's
What are you
amazing.
doing?
That's
What are you
amazing.
doing?
That's amazing. I've come home and
Oh, you're at home.
I'm at home now. Yeah, I just got back from Dad's.
Oh, right.
That's amazing because the Wi-Fi stayed on all the way over.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Where?
Yeah.
Must be using everyone else's.
We were along on the walk with you.
Oh, wait.
Yes. Yeah.
Great. I wondered if it would cut out, you see. It didn't.
Oh, no.
That's quite good.
No, we were with you every step of the way.
Sorry, guys. Sorry.
That's okay. Let's have a look at your garden. Is that your nice garden?
My garden?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my garden, but it's a bit overgrown.
Yeah, nice for the dogs though.
Yeah, it's all right. It's just big enough, you know. So
yeah. And you've got a nice dry stone wall at the bottom.
Yeah, oh yeah, nice paving.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, my weeding isn't too yeah, I'm not too good at weeding over there.
Where are the dogs? Have you got all the dogs there? Oh,
sorry?
I can hear the dogs. Are they all there?
Sorry, that's Buddy and Chester. They're playing. So
can hear them growling. So when you come up here, are the dogs going to be okay?
well, I hope so. Mind you, I did speak to Dad about it, and he wondered, because he's not very good health-wise, he wondered if he could manage a whole day. So he might just come back.
Okay.
So anyway, I'll confirm near the time.
Okay.
Depends how he feels.
Yeah.
He said.
Yeah.
He thought. But we're definitely coming up.
Okay.
16. Put it in your diary. Yeah. So
yeah. I'll put it on my calendar.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you do stay overnight, perhaps if the others can come up to my place and we can all have an evening.
That would be nice. Yeah, absolutely.
And Anne and Drina can come over.
Yeah.
Then you could meet them as well.
Yeah, it'd be lovely. Yeah.
This is on the 16th, Andy and Anne. 16th of July.
16th of July, right?
Yes. Emma and her dad are coming to collect the library.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
It's such a long journey. I said that if they wanted, they could stay here overnight.
Yeah.
But it's up to them. And if they do, I thought it would be nice if you could all come up here.
Yes.
And you could meet them.
We could have one of our old parties we used to have.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
Yeah, yeah.
I like little knees up.
Yeah. Well, we did a lot of cake eating and drinking, a lot of talking. I don't know about these up.
It used to be quite an out every week. There was a sort of
yes,
like a part of
it was
food and stuff.
But I phoned up Carl to ask him if he wanted the Cumbrian books.
Okay.
There are quite a few about Westmoreland and Cumberland.
Mm.
And I just said to him, do you want those as well? And I thought he would say, no, you can keep them, Margaret. But he said, no, he wants those as well. Because they're part of the collection.
Ah,
But he is letting me keep one which has got photographs of Oldie Kendall. So he said I can have that, but he doesn't want to break up the collection. So you're going to be having quite a lot of...
Quite a few. Yeah.
There's a lot. Yeah.
I'm sure they'll fit in my car. Well, I hope so anyway. Otherwise, we might be coming up a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you got plans for your new empty room?
For mine, well, they're all
When the library's
in the garage. Maybe I'll rent it out. An Airbnb.
Funny you should mention it. I'm still looking for a garage.
Are you? What do you mean? Why?
To put the car in.
Can you not get it in yours?
No, because it's full up to like here. With
Is it really? What have you got?
Well, I got all my tools and stuff in there, you see, as well, and two wardrobes that won't fit upstairs. So.
Yeah. Oh well, I've got quite a lot of room in my garage. Yeah. People say, "Oh, that's a lot of space." So yeah, there's just shelving and a table. It'll be a soon empty wardrobe. Yeah, so no, I'm not going to offer it as storage, Andy. No. I might be moving. This is the whole point.
Oh.
Or I might not. I don't know. I change my mind from one day to the next. It's just such an upheaval, isn't it?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Just
That's a woman's prerogative, changing our mind.
Yeah.
Where might you go? Far away?
Well, not far away.
Oh.
On side.
Making new friends.
Milnthorpe, Grange, Windermere. Yeah, that kind of area.
Oh, right.
But I've been told not to go for an apartment. I was thinking of a ground floor apartment, but talking to my brother, he said, no, don't go for an apartment. You get a lot of noise.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like building a house. It's wise to go there at different times before you buy it to see what's happening at night, weekend, in case there's something bad going on there. Youngsters, anything.
Yeah. Well, I've got a bungalow at the moment, and I was just thinking another bungalow or an apartment, but I'm thinking, well, I can still walk. I'm reasonably fit. So I shouldn't rule out a house, should I?
How big is the bungalow you got now?
It's three bedrooms and a conservatory. It's quite big.
You know, mine's two. It's adequate, especially with Julia now and that, but
yeah.
Three, that's more than roofing and ground with it. Big spaces.
Oh, your dad's changed. Yes, yeah, he's got a bit hairy, isn't he? But just try and get him. This is Harry. This is Harry.
Harry.
Oh, there he is.
Harry.
He's looking at the camera. Oh, he's a bit worried, isn't he? He's a bit worried looking at the camera.
And that's Chester. Oh, he's a bit unhappy. I don't know why he's a bit grumpy.
Yeah.
What's that? Maybe he doesn't like being on camera.
Which is the oldest one?
The oldest, actually, is Molly.
Yeah.
My little girl. Because I've got 5, obviously. Because I can't just have one, can I? It's called being ADHD. So anyway, this is
Roger. I've lost control.
Huh?
Roger's lost control. What of yourself?
Who said that?
Carl just said, Roger, I've lost control.
Oh,
I thought it was somebody else, David.
Mhm. Right. The problem is, right, Roger is a porn star.
Oh,
You know, I've just nogged my noggin.
You've just knocked your noggin.
Yeah, I was going to say something else other than saying porn star, but I couldn't work out what I was going to say. Apparently, the dodgy git is deeply in love with Emma.
Oh. Does he like dogs?
Yeah, yeah, he's got to like dogs.
Oh, right. Okay, let's crack on. Emma, please tell all these folks to bring up YouTube and then they can interact in the chat here as well. What? It's just like too much going on. Right, okay then. Let's crack on with the last bit. So oh, I did an Anderson shelter for my Barron District article this week.
I'm going to go on.
Right, okay then. Share.
Oh, sorry.
Who let the dogs out? He's
Sorry,
saying I have a taxi and owned a breed of bloodhounds.
you let the dogs out. Ooh, ooh.
Oh God, please, this is too much.
And the cockerel's back here.
No, it's the kettle. Oh no. Right. Oh God. Oh God. Oh no. Right,
Oh,
there we go.
Oh, oh.
That's right.
That Carl in the shed. Yeah.
I didn't put enough water in the kettle. Oh, sod it. I didn't put enough water in the kettle. Never mind. Right. Oh yeah, sorry, that's me. If you haven't noticed.
Well,
what's wrong, Rog?
Price, terror.
Mug shot of me. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
oh.
Oh, and there I am saving jellyfish on the beach.
You got trousers on or what?
Of course I got trousers on the beach. Because I don't like things dying, you see. They're actually a type of jellyfish. They're not Portuguese man of war at all, because Portuguese man of war are technically not jellyfish. Right, so let's crack on with this next bit. Okay, so I promised you a bit of Carthaginian architecture, and it's really, really difficult to actually get into this bit. I could have done the collapse of Carthage itself and capture by Rome, but I just wanted to set the Carthaginians on their way today without too much of a fuss. And then we do the Battle of Zama at the end. So there we go. So I'm just going to make sure I got all my notes here. Oh my God, where's my Battle of Zama notes? Oh, Zama. Is that Zama? Good. Zama. Battle of Zama. Zama. Z-A-M-A. Yes, I've got it. Yes, I've got my Battle of Zama. Yeah, we're doing something different with that. Right, so this is actually, I was going through my notes and looking at this, and I just thought, right, where is a surviving Carthaginian city? And they say that there's one, and then it was abandoned and it was never rebuilt. Nobody ever used it, right? It had existed for 400 years. So the location is known as Carc-Wan, otherwise known as Kerkoan. It's a site. It's an ancient Punic city, an ancient Carthaginian city on the farthest northeast of Tunisia, right? So there it is. It sticks out in the sea. So this would have been a landing spot of any invading army into the likes of the Carthaginian world. This is where, you know, any Roman general would have landed. So I was looking at this and I just thought, right, this is described as the most important of the Punic cities, alongside Carthage and Utica. This was probably a Phoenician city, and had been a Phoenician city for as long as memories go on. But it was finally abandoned roughly around 250 BC in the final stab of the Punic War, just after the 250s BC. The Third Punic War. Oh, hang on a minute. Ah, God, I got my dates wrong. Right, start again. Deep breath. I got my dates wrong. 1, 2, 3. Dates wrong. Right, okay, start again. Because the other Punic War. Right, okay, start again. This Phoenician city was probably abandoned during the First Punic War, not the Third Punic War, the First Punic War in 250 years BC. That blow on the head has obviously done some damage. So it was abandoned, and it was never ever rebuilt. The Second Punic War would go through Hannibal. The Third Punic War would come and go, and nobody would ever live here ever again. And why it was abandoned, it was probably as a result of the First Punic War and the Romans. But therefore the masonry that we got on site, God, I'm back with it. The masonry, what we've got on site is what you see today, and nothing else has been built on top of it. Nothing has damaged it. Nothing has affected it. There's a burial ground. There's an necropolis there. And this site, because it's so unique, there's no Roman stuff there, there's no Greek stuff there, there's nothing else there, there's no modern stuff, because it's so unique. It was and again abandoned in the First Punic War, 250 years BC. UNESCO declared this as a site of World Heritage because it's unique. It's beyond unique. You can have loads of Roman cities which are important, but there's loads of Roman cities. But as Carthaginian cities go, which is relatively intact in the ground, this is a World Heritage site and has been like that since 1985, and probably again started off as a Phoenician colony, a Carthaginian a city, and you can see that it would be very different than a Roman city. You've got like these warehouses, these shops curved around the harbourage, and you don't have massive temples and things like that here. It's just sort of general sort of housing, and one of the things with this is that there's a couple of rather interesting things to be said about this city on what they actually found there, and they're worried about this site because this site can easily be flooded, and they've had to protect this site, and that's sort of another point that we're not really looking at. And this could be said as the translation of what this means is to wall up. This is to hold up. This is to wall up. This is a place to go. That's what they probably think it means. And it looks big. It looks like a big city, but it's actually a small town in the Carthaginian world. And they say it was a town of craftsmen, a town of fishermen, a town of sailors, and probably had no more than a population of about 1,200 people. And there it is. It's sort of this wonderful shape. You don't often see cities like this. And the archaeological evidence excavated at the site tells us, and we haven't actually mentioned really any of this. They were trading murex shells, right? And the murex shells is what we saw earlier on in that image, which is a purple dye that they would get from the murex shells, right? And with the murex shells, this is one thing that they're big on. This is what we've got with the archaeological evidence. From here, the word murex comes from the ancient Greek, so it's handed down the word to the Carthaginians and Phoenicians, handed up and handed down. In addition, we've got evidence here of trade in salt, right? So we know about their big trade in salt. So we've got evidence of salt, which vessels that would have sort of stored salt, and also something else that we'll come across quite a lot: garum. Garum is basically a rotting fish sauce, right, which you add to give flavor to food. It stinks. It's rotting fish, right? That's garum, and this is basically fermented rotting fish used as a condiment. And it was big in the Roman world, but it was also big in Carthage. It was also big to the Phoenicians, big to the Egyptians as well. And this, as you can see, this has been extensively excavated. This has been excavated. That's the plan of the excavated city. And you've got sort of street lines here, and you've got a clear layout. And many houses still show their walls. And what you do see, and we'll show some images of this. What we do see is that they had coloured walls. They had coloured clay. They had coloured clay on their walls. And the town, you can see the sort of slightly circular form there, and there's a little bit of a grid sort of going out, but so not sort of organised in a typical Roman standard plan. This is organised in a sophisticated notion of a Carthaginian town. And what we've got, there's also a necropolis. There's also a burial ground, which is very similar to the Hellenistic burial grounds that you might actually get in Cyprus. So traces of red ochre found in excavated tombs are common also to native Libyan burial customs. But the religion and architectural traditions of the town are predominantly of Carthaginian style. So this is typically Carthaginian. And what you've got is Ionic trading cups and various different vessels, which have come down from Greek trade. And what we've got to do is look at this. These are a typical sort of home, really hefty walls, really well built. Inside sort of door furniture, because that's what we're looking at. And there's the location again. And this is necropolis, little steps into the rock, into little sort of the mausoleum under the ground. This is sort of typically what I would examine if I would be going to Cyprus, which you've actually got here as well. And you've got houses with little courtyards as well. So this is again, there's the spelling of this is the necropolis of the dead. That's what burial ground. This is what necropolis means. And again, what they've done is they've done some reconstructions in amongst. You've got sort of water storage areas. You've got the stone furniture around the doors, really strongly built structures. And this is I'm going to mention this actually from when I was working in Spain. When we were working in Spain, if there was certain areas that had certain daubs surviving or sort of a certain amount of painted clay, they would reconstruct it. So I can remember when I was working in Spain, they would be reconstructing the archaeology as we would be excavating it. So it would be in a perfect state for later preservation. So this is exactly what we've got here. I think this is some kind of sort of a water vat of some description. And again, look at that there. You've got all of this sort of painted clay. You've also got clay floors as well. So you're starting to get an idea. And this to me looks very sort of Minoan-ish, where obviously the Minoans, you're talking about 1600 and before 1628 BC, before the collapse of the Minoan civilization, where you've got all these rooms, sort of little corridors linking everything together, more likely to be flat roofed as well, where they are very similar into the style that you'd actually find in ancient Egypt. So you've got these stucco walls, or the stucco plaster walls, which are red, lots of these private houses. And what they're saying in my notes is that these buildings sort of show styles of living that these people have copied from other parts of the world. And there, what you've typically got, you've got sort of a courtyard, and this is described as a row of columns in connection. They call this peristyle, where you've got these columns in connection with a courtyard. So this doesn't quite look Roman. This looks Carthaginian. It doesn't have the Ionic or the Doric bases or the capitals. It's just basically solid drums of stone to support sort of a peristyle to sort of support a courtyard. This is what the columns are. This is specifically the area of a sanctuary, actually, and across the whole thing that you've also, I haven't got an image of it. You've got basic mosaic floors as well, and you've got various different altars, and you've got small temples across the site, not sort of huge temples that you might actually find elsewhere. But again, it's giving you a sort of snapshot into this world.
Decorated walls.
Yeah, go on.
Any decorated walls like the Roman styles and stuff?
No, basically what we're doing, what they found specifically in my notes and what I can work out. These are, it's sort of like a red ochre on clay, and this could sort of be sort of more in a sense of influenced by, say, the ancient Egyptians, maybe something like the ancient Greeks. You've got this sort of clay floor, a very hard clay floor, which in some ways is like a soft surface, but is a hard surface, rather than there's talk of them having small areas of mosaics, but I haven't actually seen any of these in the images. And then what you've got is you've again back to these columns, and you've got little areas of storage for water as well, and you've got this sort of walk-in little sort of tub, as it were. This could be ritualistic. This could be absolutely anything. But again, giving you a little bit of a picture. One of the things that one difference between this site and some of the reconstructions that they've done at this site, and say something like Knossos with the work of Arthur Evans, and also Andy will remember that if he went to Lindos at the same time as me, the Acropolis at Lindos, he will know that they were having to take down the temple at the top, because the Italians in the 1920s had actually used cast concrete to assist with the construction of the temples there, and the cast concrete on a iron metal framework had blown, so they're having to take it all down and actually rebuild it. And this is what we're finding with what Arthur Evans did at Knossos in Crete. But what they're doing with this, they're just using simple reconstruction methods to give you an idea from some of the archaeology that they found and excavated, an impression. Because I know this again. I'm just going over something I've already said. I know this again because when I was working in the likes of Spain at a place known as Santa Maria in the Villaggio de Salvanes, when we were excavating at Santa Maria, there was a guy called Miguel. He was a really good conservator. We had found a corn drying kiln, and the corn drying kiln was basically primarily made of clay, and he had got all the evidence. And as we're excavating the archaeology, he's reconstructing a corn drying kiln with a little hood and everything on it, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. You couldn't do that in this country because the conditions wouldn't be right. But I'm loving the preservation of this site. It's a really, really good state of a site. And you can see lots of evidence with this clay in these rooms on the floor. And obviously you've got like a little stoop there as well. Trying to translate what we've got, obviously normal habitational buildings with water associated, water adornments, and sort of maybe bathing, which the Carthaginians would have been very much into, like the Romans. And this here, before we get on to Zama, is when I typed in Carthaginian architecture, this came up as the only intact piece of Carthaginian stonework like this to survive anywhere. There's nothing like this on this level surviving in Sardinia, Sicily, Spain, North Africa, Carthage, and this itself is known as the Mausoleum of Duga. And where is this again? It's there. There it is. I think it's there actually. Yeah, there it is. So it's a bit out the way. There it is. And it's I just thought of this, and I just thought, what absolutely brilliant. I so this is this could really be said to actually, I've got the location wrong. I just showed you the location of Zama. Sorry that I've just hang on a minute. Where's the little map for this? Where is it? Hang on a minute. I got the location wrong. I just realised that. Where is this? Because it's not in Tunisia. It's actually in Libya, and Libya's south of the screen. Oh, I got that wrong. I got to corrected myself there. But back to this. Two mistakes in a lecture so far. Again, counting. So this when this was actually excavated, when this was actually excavated, it was excavated by the French government in 1908, 1910. It dates to roughly sometime probably about the 190s BC, which is very much still into the Carthaginian world. This site's known as Duga. This is also a World Heritage Site because it is so unique. It is completely unique, right? Because there's nothing like this standing. And the first Westerners to visit this site of Duga, Dougga, are said to refer to this in the 1600s. And people would frequent here, this mausoleum. So obviously anything associated with the mausoleum is going to be long gone. But it was being seriously damaged. People were removing inscriptions from it, which is a big shame. The current state of the monument is the result of reconstructing from the bits that people had taken off, right? It's a bit like the Parthenon, where they're trying to reconstruct with what they've got. And that's the thing. I wanted to basically say that this is the best of the best without sort of spoiling it. But there was a lot of damage done to it by tourists wanting a little bit of it. So obviously you've got this nice little bit of sculpture on the roof there, and again it's really different from any Roman stuff. You know, it reminds me of the Pharos at Alexandria, because that's in like a tier cake design where you've got like a square area at the bottom and you've got another bit closer it's stepped. This is really interesting. And it's referring to this as Aloic pilasters, which are typically in the Carthaginian form. And it's talking that there would have been various animals on these corners. Some have obviously gone. And it's referring to the style is being gained or attributed from this sense of a pyramid on the top. So you could argue that this is sort of influenced by lots of the influences that the likes of the Carthaginians have actually gained from their world. So according to recent studies, there are names on here referring to architects and various artisans, and referring to various princes. But lots of the carvings have unfortunately been destroyed. But this is just giving you an idea of something that is Carthaginian, that is all that's left. And again, back to what I said, I didn't want to do the Third Punic War and the complete destruction and end of the Carthaginian Empire, because it's very sad, and it's so this mausoleum, amazing enough, it doesn't look it right from the base steps there. It's referring to this with the finial at the top as 21 meters high. It doesn't look 21 meters high, but it says here it's 21 meters high. And this mausoleum is for a figure from the inscriptions that may be associated with some kind of Numidian prince rather than a Carthaginian prince. But this is obviously within the Carthaginian vein of their architecture. So I just wanted to give that to you. And finally, what we've got This is going to be Zama. This is going to be the end game for the Second Punic War. So Punic War ends in 201. The Battle of Zama is 202, right? And just one thing I would say is this was the Carthaginian Empire in 218 BC. It all started off because Hannibal decided to march on Rome, right, in 217, and eventually Battle of Zama. So, not Battle of Zama, Battle of Cana, right? There you go, Cana in Italy. There you go. But what really is the downfall of all of this is the Battle of Zama. Hannibal is still the leader. He's revered. You know, he's the guy who can be defeated, but he mainly wins his battles. But the Romans send a general called Scipio. And Scipio is somebody who is victorious over Hannibal at the legendary Battle of Zama. So I've got my notes in front of me, and it's quite a nice set of notes, actually. If you're reading this on Wikipedia, you might find some other things. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this source in front of me, Battle of Zama. And so there it is. So what we've got is we've got the Romans managing to get to the heartland of the Carthaginians, and they would take Spain, they would take Mauritania. Numidia would stand as an independent kingdom, and it would be left with very little, including losing their beloved Balearic Islands. So these are the facts and figures with Zama. And when we think about these facts and figures with Zama, we can clearly see on homeland Carthaginian world, homeland, the world of the Carthaginians, south west of their capital city, the Punic capital city, right? And I've said this before, when the Romans are outnumbered, they usually win, right? So what we've got is Carthage, Hannibal. Carthage, Hannibal has an army of about 50,000. He has about 50,000 soldiers at Cana, right? But here it's got about 40 to 50,000, right? And you've got a big chunk of that is infantry. It's estimates between 36 and 46,000 infantry, 80 war elephants, 4,000 cavalry. That's on the side of Hannibal. The Roman army under Scipio is going to be the person who's got a different strategy. Basically, Scipio is Wellington, right? Think about what Battle of Waterloo, right? This is the clash of two great warriors, Napoleon, Wellington. On this field, Wellington is basically Scipio and Hannibal is Napoleon, right? And Hannibal has got lots of similarities with Napoleon in that when Napoleon leaves Elba, nobody's going to allow him to do anything more. He's going to lose eventually, right? And this is what we're saying about Hannibal. And there is the casualty figures there immediately there on the bottom there. We can see that the Romans fared only 1,400 dead, and look at that. Hannibal loses 20,000, right? This isn't as bad as the Roman defeat at Cana, right? But it's pretty bad, right? And it's pretty bad for the Carthaginians because this basically wipes out their army, their main field army, but it doesn't kill their commander. So Publius Cornelius Scipio versus Hannibal. And yeah, sorry I made that mistake earlier on. That dot there was actually Zama. And again, you've got this map to get an idea. Again, going back to this, and this, the other week that I was actually saying Roman helmets, this is what a Roman helmet looked like. not the ones of Hollywood, not the ones that you'd see on Gladiator, right? Or Spartacus, right? This is what a Roman helmet looks like. Basically a bowl helmet used by Roman infantry, used for a long period of time, even at the time of the invasion of Julius Caesar. Basically, you've got two cheek guards, and that thing at the back there is actually to stop blows. So if a sword comes down on there, right, it's going to protect your back of your neck. But there would be basically two cheek guards either side. And let's get down to some of the more of the nitty gritty. So let's just get this. So Scipio Africanus the Elder. This is the last and decisive battle of the Second Punic War. It effectually ended both Hannibal's command of the Carthaginian forces and also Carthage's chances to significantly oppose Rome. After this moment, 202 into 201, right? Carthage is no longer a world power. It's a bit like Britain today. We're no longer a world power. There you go. So the battle took place at a site that has been identified. And Roman historians have written about it. Another Roman historian known as Cornelius Nepos identified the location of the battle 150 years after the battle, like many things. So by the year 203, Carthage was in great danger. And the great danger, if we look at the map again, you can see, the red is really extended. But at this point, this is 218. But this is now 203. Publius Cornelius Scipio had invaded Africa and won an important battle barely 20 miles west of Carthage itself. And basically, Hannibal had panicked. The Romans are now at my gates, right? We had been at Rome's gates decade earlier, and now Rome was at our gates. So the Carthaginian generals Hannibal and his brother Mago were accordingly recalled from their campaigns in Italy. Hannibal returned to, he basically left a load of men in Italy. So he came back. He returned to Africa with his 12,000 man veteran army. Now, this is something that we know a lot about in history. And I'll give you an example. So basically, Hannibal's in Italy, right? But he's not on his doorstep, right? So the Romans go to his doorstep. This and the parallel with this is the Jacobite rebellion of 1746, where what you've got Bonnie Prince Charlie. He goes to invade Britain. He gets to York and he keeps going south, right? And as he's going to London, he's told that the government army is landing in Scotland, on his home territory. So Bonnie Prince Charlie has to return, and then you've got the disaster at Culloden. So that's the parallel. So basically, he's got a veteran army of 12,000, but Scipio has a veteran army now as well, and gathered another 37,000 troops. And basically, his own brother had died at sea on the crossing, his brother Mago. So he'd lost one of his generals. So basically, what we've got is the Scipio basically races to engage. Right. This is going to be this is going to be what happens. Right. So there we go. We've got Zama there. And we've got these battles and the route of the Roman army. So the Roman army basically lands from Italy, right, with Hannibal behind, right, and you've got all these campaigns, and then eventually you've got Zama, right. So you can see that Scipio is basically making waves across the Carthaginian territory. So Scipio's Roman forces were reinvigorated veterans after Cana, and they sought redemption. So once his allies had arrived, Scipio had about the same number of troops as Hannibal. Actually, we've seen the facts and figures a little bit less, but maybe they are the same. And Hannibal could not afford to lose this battle, because if he loses this battle, then he's basically going to lose the campaign. So within this battle, what we've got is Hannibal, even though he's got these 12,000 veterans, the rest of his army isn't well trained against a Roman trained army under Scipio. So that is the point. And again, there's Scipio, there's another bust of Hannibal from 1704, and this is the deployment of them at the battlefield. Now, whether they got the same number of men or not, it's likely that the Romans are actually less. And interesting enough, I mentioned this before, and this is really interesting. This isn't something that happened between Wellington and Napoleon at the Battle of Waterloo. Hannibal and Scipio met personally, possibly because Hannibal perceived that battle conditions did not favour him, hoped to negotiate a generous settlement. Scipio may have been curious to meet Hannibal, but he refused the proposed terms, stating that Carthage had broken the truce, and would have to face the consequences. So the truce back in 218. This is over a decade earlier, right? According to Livy, remember that Roman historian? According to Livy, this was in the Hannibal basically told Scipio, what I was years ago at Tresemme and Cana, you are today. And so what Hannibal is now saying to Scipio, even though I defeated the Roman army at Tresemme, which the Roman army was forced into the water in Italy, at Cana, that great victory. Now Hannibal is saying, look, Scipio, do we have to fight this? I'm not as good as I used to be. You are as good as me. He's saying this to Scipio. This is what Livy said. Scipio is said to have replied with a message for Carthage: "Prepare to fight, because evidently you have found peace intolerable." The next day was set for battle. So they waited a whole day to fight the battle, right? Which is really, really interesting. If that's true, there you go. As the two armies approached each other, the Carthaginians unloosened their 80 elephants into the ranks of the Roman infantry, right? So there we go. I love images like this. They released them into the Roman infantry. But the great beasts were soon dispersed and their threat neutralized, and the Romans nearly captured 20 of these elephants, right? And there you go, these war elephants. So the elephants didn't do anything. It said first the elephants were not well trained, so they were different elephants that Hannibal took over the Alps. These were different elephants, right? Second, and perhaps even more vital to the outcome, Scipio had arranged his forces in small, flexible infantry units with broad alleys between them. So in other words, what they basically did, the Roman army broke themselves up into small groups, right? So it meant that instead of the Romans charging the entire Roman formation and it would break into bits, the Romans formed into small little squares, right? So he had trained his men to move to the side when the elephants charged, locking their shields and facing the alleys between the groups of men. So you've got these blocks of soldiers at the back there. These are Roman soldiers. Third, the loud shouts and blaring trumpets of the Romans may have disconcerted the elephants, some of which swerved to the side early in the battle and instead attacking their own, and they actually killed some of Hannibal's own soldiers, right? So this is an absolute nightmare. This is just not this is really all falling apart. You can see these elephants here. And they're all over the place. They're all over the track on the battlefield. They're just not working. They're not doing this. So what we've got, I found this wonderful image online. I thought this is perfect to explain a battle right? This is really, really good. So so there we go. We've got the war elephants marked there. And so what's happened is that the Scipio's cavalry then charged the opposing Carthaginian cavalry on the wings. Can you remember what I said at Cana? Hannibal attacked the wings. This time, Scipio's attacking Hannibal's wings. And also, the Romans have got more cavalry than that Hannibal has. The Romans have got 6,000 cavalry. Hannibal has interestingly only got 4,000. So it's a big difference. The Roman infantry legions then advanced and attacked Hannibal's infantry, and which consisted of 3 consecutive lines of defense. The Romans crushed the soldiers of the first line because they were cannon fodder. The ones on the second line on Hannibal's side, the red there, they were sort of okay returned. However, by that time, the legionaries had become nearly exhausted, and they had yet to close with the third line, which consisted of Hannibal's veterans from his Italian campaign. Now, I don't know if any of you are fans of Napoleon. I don't know if any of you are fans of Waterloo, right? What happened is Napoleon did exactly the same thing at Waterloo, right? Napoleon had his old guard, which was the elite of Napoleon's army, as the last bastion to the British, right? So when you see in the films, the film Napoleon from with Christopher Plummer in the lead for Wellington on that one, and I think Schneider's the one who plays Napoleon in that film. It clearly shows the French's elite guard, the old guard, being used last, right? And it's exactly what you're seeing at Zama, right? At that crucial juncture, Numidian cavalry returned from their rout of the enemy cavalry and attacked the rear of the Carthaginians. The Numidians had actually sided with the Romans, right? They weren't allies of the Carthaginians now. They had sided with the Romans, right? So, in other words, what's happening is that you can clearly see there, right? The Romans have pincered, right? And they've charged away the cavalry, and then they've come back in and they've hit the veteran infantry of Hannibal. So we're talking about, I don't know how much of this is exaggerated, but 20,000 Carthaginians sounds a bit exaggerated. But the Greek historian Polybus states that Hannibal had done all that he could as a general in battle. So Polybus, who writes about Cana and Hannibal defeating the Romans at Cana over a decade earlier, Polybus is now saying, actually, Hannibal's not as good as he was. Hannibal had done all that he could possibly do, especially considering the advantage held by his opponent, i.e. the opponent was a lot more powerful than Hannibal. Hannibal was fighting from a position of weakness, but it does not diminish Scipio's victory for Rome, however. With the defeat of Carthage and Hannibal, it is likely that Zama awakened in Rome a vision of a larger future itself in the Mediterranean. And what we're gonna conclude with finally, I know this is going on a little bit, but what we're going to do finally, right? We're just going to mention this, right? Where do I read that out there? Maybe I'll keep that on the screen there. I'll just mention this: the Battle of Zama left Carthage helpless, and the city accepted Scipio's peace terms, whereby it ceded Spain, the whole of Spain, to Rome, surrendered most of its warships, and began paying a 50-year indemnity to Rome. Do you know what? That's exactly what happened in the First World War to the Germans, right? The Germans signed the armistice. They did not surrender, but they signed the armistice that they've got to pay an indemnity to the French and everybody else. At the end of the First World War, the Germans have to give up their warships to the Allies, right? And basically, Germany's defeated of its colonies and loads of other things. This is exactly what's happening to the Carthaginians here. There's a lot of resentment. Scipio was awarded the surname Africanus, the victor of Africa. Hannibal escaped from the battle and went to his estates. for some time before he returned to Carthage. For the first time in decades, Hannibal was without a military command, and never again did he lead Carthaginians into battle. The indemnity Rome set as payment from Carthage was 10,000 silver talents, more than 3 times the size of the indemnity demanded at the conclusion of the First Punic War. Although the Carthaginians had to publicly burn at least 100 ships, Scipio did not impose harsh terms on Hannibal himself, and Hannibal was soon elected as a civil magistrate by popular vote to help administer a defeated Carthage, conclusively ending the Second Punic War with a decisive Roman victory. The Battle of Zama must be considered one of the most important battles in ancient history. Cana is one of the most important battles in ancient history, but Zama is the end of the campaign that Hannibal has started. This is so much like Napoleon, right? And what happened to Napoleon? Napoleon invades the whole of Europe, right? And he conquers and defeats everyone, right? But his army is slowly depleted, right? So by the time Napoleon's going into Russia, and his army's wiped out in Russia by 1812, right? And then he comes back to France, and then he's really weakened, right? This is what you can see happened all those years before with Hannibal. So the Battle of Zama must be considered one of the most important battles in history. You can agree or disagree. Having staged a successful invasion of Africa and having vanquished his canniest and most implacable foe, Rome began its vision of a Mediterranean empire, and they would meet nobody like Hannibal until the year AD 9, when Varus's legions are wiped out in the Teutoburg forest. So you can see here, you've probably read this on the screen, but at least 11 Carthaginian elephants. I said about 20, and the number of wounded is not known. Although the ancient sources refer to many wounded Roman soldiers being carried to the rear during the battle, and 20,000 Carthaginians were captured. So higher. So this is basically what we've got. So I hopefully you've enjoyed that tonight. So let's see if there's any questions. Let's start off with I had a big picture of David then. So David's got a lovely nice purple and red top. So David, any questions?
No, thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, David.
Bye, David.
Night, David.
Bye.
Night, David. Right, Pat. Pat.
You mute, Pat.
There. Yes. No. I'd not heard of any of those, so it's all new to me. So, thank you very much.
My pleasure, Pat. And have you got to go now, Pat?
Yes, I gotta go.
Are you joining us next Tuesday? Next Wednesday?
I think Wednesday. Yes. And so I'll say goodbye.
Okay.
Bye, Pat. Good to
See you again, Pat, on this
Bye-bye.
one. Take care.
Okay.
No, Pat.
Thanks
No,
a
Pat.
lot. Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure. It's always a pleasure, Pat. Thanks a lot.
Hey,
Right.
bye.
Oh, by the way, folks, one thing I haven't mentioned to everybody, don't forget the fees are now due for the classes.
Oh, how much are
I
they?
haven't mentioned it. Terrible.
You just did.
How
It's
much?
on special offer this time. It's only 20 quid.
What is?
Special offer.
Shut up.
What is it?
Right. Okay then. Right. Okay. Margaret, anything you'd like to say?
Well, if I'd managed to get online when I should have, I would have told you. I would have told you the latest news,
which is what?
Hannibal. It's brand new, up-to-date news.
Oh yeah, go on.
Yeah, over 170 meters of wall and 450 lead projectiles from the Romans.
I knew there was something. I had seen that. Yeah, we're doing that next week.
Yeah, it's an Italian city allied with Hannibal.
Yeah.
Called
Yes.
Called Cooper.
Yeah.
So it seems not all of the Italians were behind the Romans. A lot of them were allies of the Carthaginians.
Yeah, and also when you think about Spartacus, and you think about Spartacus, and we think about Capua. Capua was actually allied with Hannibal as well.
Yeah. So they were just big bully boys, weren't they?
Yes, they were. They were massive bully boys.
Bit depressing. Makes me depressed. And I
don't
think it's awful that they bring animals into the battles, all the horses and the elephants that are killed in the process. It just, I just think, leave the animals out of it.
Do you know how many animals that the Germans had in the Second World War?
I hate to think.
They had 10 million horses.
Well, it shouldn't happen.
We usually think that the German army was completely mechanized in the Second World War. They weren't. They were mainly horse drawn.
No, well, no, that should stop.
Right, pathetic.
War altogether should stop.
Exactly. War is it good for? Absolutely nothing. War.
It just keeps going on. But what was interesting today, I thought, was when you were saying how different battles or different changed the whole of history afterwards. It's changed everything that followed. And I suppose I should have thought of that as fairly obvious, but I hadn't thought of it till you mentioned it, pointed it out.
The battler's armor. It's in one of my notes said that even if Hannibal had beaten Scipio at the battler's armor, there would have been another Italian army. There would have been another Roman army. They would have just kept going on and on. It was a bit like Napoleon. Napoleon should have just stayed on Elba, right? That was it. Hannibal should not have started this war in the first place, right? But he did, and that's it.
But again, a lot the historians are talking. Well, people are talking now a lot on programs I'm watching, to say that every empire falls, and so you can see it over history. They rise and fall, and although they seem all powerful for a time,
like the Russians now going.
They say about America, this is going to be the height of America, and then you'll start to see it decay. And mind you, the weird empire in history is always the Chinese. They always seem to be there.
Well, I don't know. Their superiority lasted. Their civilization lasted very long time, but then it did sort of fail, didn't it? And it's
but it still remained
one rising, if you like.
Exactly. The Han Dynasty, the Qin, the Ming, all
it's gone forever, a very long time. Yes.
Exactly.
Well,
I don't know where we are now. Right, Margaret, we've done Margaret. Anne, Margaret, we'll do. Thanks for that contribution about the Italian city. I've knocked you out on that one because I want to do it next week. Anne, anything from you?
No, I've just said my little bit, I think.
Okay, good. Pat's still there, which is great. She wants to hear what's left. Roger, anything from you, quick?
No, nothing. I'm signing off now.
No, Rog.
Hi, Roger.
Hi, Rog. Interesting, a lot of new stuff. Because it's a big change in history, as you said. Quite good. See you all next week.
Bye, Rog. Night, Rog. Night, Dirty Rog.
Hello, mate. See you all.
You should see him with women. He's an animal.
Yeah, that's right. Good luck, Margaret, with your. I'd suggest you go for a 2-bedroom bungalow. You'll make money on the fee to cover it. That's my suggestion.
Okay, thanks, Roger.
Go for it. Stick to bungalows. 1 if you have to, but make sure it's enough. Otherwise, 2.
Okay.
Yeah, well, if you go for a bungalow, then it doesn't. We can't have meetings there anymore. Right? No, Rog.
Cheers.
Anything from you, Gina?
No, thank you.
Right. Okay. So, right. We're to be honest with you, we've got so much to do with these classes. I can't even work out what we're doing next week. We are now behind on my own set schedule. So technically next week we should be doing Roman writers, but I want to do I want to do the geographers that came to Britain and the year 753 BC, and we've still got a bit of Carthage to do, and I've got a little bit of Etruscan to do, and I'm so behind already. Right. So nothing from Gina. What about Judith?
No, nothing from me, thank you.
And then finally, Andy babes.
Yeah, that I didn't know that
Oh,
Hannibal
hang
had survived those wars and gone on to be, a municipal leader, shall we call him? Didn't know that. And
He
also,
became yeah, go on.
also I've got I was just looking in the breaks, looking at some of the pictures of the place was in Spain, which is not far from Barcelona. It's definitely Carthaginian. You can see the difference in the stonework, and there are some mosaics because I like mosaics. I took some photographs of that as well.
Yeah, what is this place called?
I can't remember. I'll try and look it up and get it for
Okay.
next week because
If you're able to
definitely
send
was
me those
there.
images,
Yeah,
send me those
okay.
images.
What
please.
which email do you want it sent to?
Just don't send me too many. Just send me about 2 or 3 slides to karl-j.langford@hotmail.com.
Okay, lovely. Will do. Thank you.
Where was that mausoleum, that really nice building that you showed?
Do you know what I'm going to do? What I am going to do is I screwed up where it was because there was too much going on. So it's I said it wasn't in Tunisia. But for the sake of argument, let's work out where this is. Map. I might be. Yeah, it's actually showing as it is in Tunisia.
Oh,
right. Okay then. But mind you, it's this monument has also got the Arch of Septimus Severus, which I think that guy online has said. It's also got the Temple of. It's got so much there, and it's basically. Hang on, I've got to go right through here. Oh, hang on a minute. It is actually in Tunisia. It's it's yeah, it's not actually, it's north of Zama, so this is why I made the mistake. So it's Tunisia. It's about it's immediately south west of Tunisia, before the border. So yeah.
It's in amazing condition, isn't it?
Yeah, so basically at Duga it has got there is loads of stuff there. Not Carthaginian, but it's got megalithic tombs, a temple of Saturn, it's got the Duga aqueduct, it's got other mausoleums, it's got the Arch of Septimus Severus, an ancient system, there's loads of stuff there. So Duga.
Wow.
Do. And do you know what? I've just clicked on the aerial photography of this, and it's just basically desert with a few fields, but it's got loads of stuff. So, right. Anyone else got anything they want to say? Where is Emma and David gone?
She's gone to the dogs.
Oh, she left. Did she? All right then.
Somebody did leave earlier. I didn't see who it was. So it must have been Emma.
Yeah. All right then. So, yeah. So, anyone got anything else they want to say before we go?
Peace, not war.
Absolutely.
Peace, not war, man, and no smoking, no drugs. Even when I had an opportunity to go smoking off there, a David Tennant's in the background, and the fags don't even work. Acting fags don't work. I'm just burning these things, going like this, and having a good old bloody laugh on the camera, right? So I'm going. I don't know. I'm going like this. I'm trying to get this going. I'm totally exaggerating, and it's just everyone's loving it. They're having a good old laugh.
Have you never smoked then, Carl?
No, I don't smoke at all.
You've never been a smoker.
I've never been a smoker. And it turned out as I was breaking these fags down, they were just made of bits of wood. So
I remember trying menthol cigarettes once because I thought they were not like real tobacco, but they were horrible.
No. They probably did people a lot of bad as well.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Anything else anyone want to say?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay, if there's nothing else, thanks for joining me tonight, and loads more good stuff next week. So thank you for joining us, Pat. See you Wednesday, and Margaret and Judith and Andy and Anne and Gina and Emma and David and Roger and everybody else who's gone. Anyway, everyone else who knows me, night, folks.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Night, my pleasure, and a full class tonight, which was great. Night.
Bye.
No. Chat. Chat, nothing there, 1, nothing there, 2, nothing there, 3, nothing there, 4, nothing there, 5, nothing there, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13. Oh, bollocks. What am I doing? Oh, I can't get the chat boxes because I don't know if somebody's put a message. I don't know if Emma said anything. Nothing in that chat box. 1. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Goodbye, Dodgy Git. Thanks for joining us. That was some good stuff off you, Dodgy Git. Septimus Severus Arch. Flipping heck. I got to look at that anyway after this. So hang on. Anyway, no, folks. Oh, I tell you what, folks. Anyone out there, right? Let's have a little look at Septimus Severus's arch screen. Let's have a quick look. Little treat at the end here. Septimus Severus's arch, right? Septimus. Septimus Severus arch. Droga. I wish I'd done a little bit more search on Droga and not just sort of put that together like that. Arch at Drogue, image. Oh, it's not there. It's the one in Rome. I wonder if that's the one. That's it. But this is Leptis Magna, but that's the Septimus Severus arch anyway. Oh, what? I want to. Anyway, I don't think that's the Droga one, but that's the one at that's the one at Leptis Magna. Wonderful Roman city. So there you go. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. We're gonna go now. So I'm gonna go. I am now buggered because I can't find my way out. Stop share. Okay. Thank you. And thanks you, Dodgy Git, for tonight as well. Anyway, it's just you and me, Dodgy Git. I'm going to go now. So night, Dodgy Git. Thank you very much. Dodgy Git, you should join. The £1.99 a month would be great. Everything helps. And I need to get my subscribers, my joining people up as well. Anyway, nothing in that box 1, nothing in that box 2, 3. No message there, no message there. Done. And no message